Titans are back at it again. The latest film in the Monsterverse, Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire, has dropped in theaters. So let's talk about it. While I'm talking, be sure to join me down below in the comments section. Let me know, what did you think about the movie? What do you think about the Monsterverse in general? And most importantly, are you Team Kong or Godzilla? I am Team Kong all the way. He's got a great personality. He's a nice guy. Godzilla is just like a lizard that goes and beats people up. Let's get started with the good. And right off the bat, this movie is very clearly a follow-up to Godzilla vs. Kong. When you look at the Monsterverse, almost every single project has had a different tone and aesthetic from the other projects in the Monsterverse until now, where we do have a returning director, and this very much continues the tone, the vibe, the aesthetic of the previous film, even the structuring of the film. If you liked Godzilla vs. Kong, this is more of that type of film. It's very interested in exploring the world, in particular the Hollow Earth. And so there's a lot of time just spent wandering around, seeing all these different creatures, seeing how Kong lives in this world. It's a very Kong-heavy film, so if you want a ton of Godzilla, you probably will be disappointed. If you like Kong, you get a lot of Kong. And we use him to kind of go through this Hollow Earth, build out this long history of all of these titans, of different human civilizations. There's even like little like connections into histories, mysteries, and stuff like that, and ancient aliens, little ways it ties into that. And it's very interested in building all of that stuff out. All the weirdness of Godzilla vs. Kong, there's more of it. All the exploration of Godzilla vs. Kong, there's more of it. Even just kind of the shift in the way the human characters are treated, where they're a lot quippier in Godzilla vs. Kong, more quippy characters, more humor, all of that stuff that makes for a very consumable film. It's very digestible. I called the previous one a Taco Bell movie, and this one is very much a Taco Bell movie. If you don't know what I mean when I use that phrase, it's cinematic fast food. Might not be good for you, but you sure do like to eat it. And that's what this movie is. There's all sorts of sci-fi tech. There's all sorts of wild, crazy stuff that goes on with gigantic robot arms on Kong and relics and power weapons. All this crazy fun stuff that in particular in a theater, it's a lot of fun to watch this kind of movie. It's a very enjoyable date night. The week that Godzilla Minus One came out, we also got our trailer for this movie, and in my trailer reaction, I said, this looks like the professional wrestling of Godzilla films, and that really is kind of what it is. Like, it's designed to entertain you. There's all sorts of rivalries taking place. You're waiting for the unlikely team-ups. You're waiting for the last-minute cavalry. What creature's going to show up to save the day? That's what this movie is designed to do. They're giving Titans weapons to fight each other with, and they're smashing into buildings. Not much concern for the reality of any of this, but is it fun to watch a bunch of Titans duke it out amongst a bunch of the most beautiful and famous cities in the world? Absolutely it is. And without wanting to go into too many specifics, because they kept some things secret, they actually edited some shots in the trailers to remove certain things that are in certain shots so that it accurately teases the movie without spoiling the movie. You get so many different Titans in here with all these different powers, and you have Godzilla having to find a way to be able to battle against these creatures that he's battled in the past, and all of this stuff that just makes for a really fun third act to the movie. Briefly mentioned this earlier, but it is a very Kong-heavy film, and we're kind of even getting into his desires, his loneliness, what he's seeking out in this world, and making Kong an actual character. Of all the characters in this movie, Kong is the one that gets the most character development, exploration of his personality as he's growing and changing, and through the different creatures he discovers in Hollow Earth, including like a little Diddy Kong shows up at one point in time, you get to see a different side to Kong. But you get to see him interact. They really treat him as King Kong and establishing that, dominant side that he has to him, that he bows to no one. They bring that into this, and he keeps coming back, and they make him a character that you're rooting for. They make him an underdog. They make him have things where there's goals that you want him to achieve in light of his grander desires for life in general. So when you have certain victories in the film, there is a great deal of emotional satisfaction with some of those moments. When it comes to the human characters, I mean, we'll get into that most in the negative. Dan Stevens is a lot of fun here. He's just a quip machine. His character's just throwing out funny lines, and he does a good job at that. And without wanting to give away a running gag in the movie, they do something very cute with Godzilla. I don't know that doing something cute with Godzilla in general is a good idea, because he's not supposed to be cute. That's one of the things that was so great about Godzilla -1 is it made him terrifying again. But they found a little bit where I went, okay, that is amusing. That is funny what you did right there. Should you have done it? Was it too low-hanging fruit, too silly? I don't know. But it worked, at least for this moment, for me. I went into this movie just wanting a stupid but fun time at the movies. I didn't really expect anything besides that, and I got a very stupid but fun time at the movies. But there's more to talk about here, so let's move on to the bad. Today's video is brought to you by BetterHelp. If you don't know my story, when I started my YouTube channel, I was unemployed and in alcohol addiction treatment. And my addiction issues came about because I just had a tremendous amount of stress in my life, and I coped with that stress through drinking. I wish 10 years ago I had turned to therapy instead of alcohol. Therapy could have helped me develop proper coping skills for all the stress that I was facing, and it could have helped me steer my life away from really toxic patterns. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Learn to make time for what makes you happy with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/Sean Chandler today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Sean Chandler. In a lot of ways, what was the basis for the good in this movie was also the basis for the bad. And that's to say it's very much a continuation of Godzilla vs. Kong, which made it fun. But also, there's some diminishing returns here, where at what point in time are we just straining too much credibility? Obviously, it's about Titans. As soon as you're doing Godzilla vs. Kong, and that's like our new thing that we're doing with the franchise, we know that we're moving into silly category. We know that we're going for the low-hanging fruit. It's fun. It's not meant to be taken seriously. But at some point in time, you just go too far. You're getting too wacky, and you're just abandoning any sort of anchors to reality, anything meaningful. Like, the movie kicks off with a news broadcast about how things are great right now. Like, whenever Titans show up, Godzilla just comes in, swoops in, saves the day, and it cuts to like some gigantic famous city just being destroyed by these two Titans, and it frames this as a good thing. All throughout the movie, massive cities are destroyed. Wonders of the world that have survived for thousands upon thousands of years are destroyed. And the death toll in this movie has to be in the tens of thousands, probably in the 100,000s. It's possible it's in the millions. And the movie never pauses for a second to even care about the just utter destruction caused by the Titans, or the existential fear that every human would have in a world where this stuff is just casually happening. because it's going for laughs, it's going for this fun, lively, yeah, jokes, quips, let's go for it. Yeah, we got Titans punching each other in the face, robot arms on Kong. Then just structurally, it's very peculiar. Very early on in the film, it's kind of like, there's a thing out there that's making a signal. And so we're trying to figure out what it is. And it just feels like we're delaying and delaying and delaying. And then it's like, boss fight finale. And so it feels for a long time like we're waiting for the plot to kick into gear. And there's action and there's jokes and there's exploration. But so much of it just feels like we're delaying the inevitable. And we're just trying to invent something for characters to do. Godzilla is the ultimate example of this. He doesn't have anything to do in the main plot until the finale. And so they basically send him on a bunch of side quests and we like catch up with what he's up to just so that he can be in the movie before the final 20 minutes of the film. But like it just has nothing immediately to do with the actual main plot. It's like, oh, there's a thing over there he has to deal with. Oh, he's taking a break over here for a little bit. But none of this is necessary for the main plot that's taking place. And that's what so much of the movie kind of feels like that. It has the plot of a short episode of television, but the runtime of a movie. So we're just exploring side quests, stuff like that, padding out the runtime until we can finally do our big, gigantic Royal Rumble. When we Royal Rumble, it's a lot of fun. It delivers, especially with a crowded theater. But before that point in time, it's a little bit bumpy. And also the movie in general just feels like it has brainstorming logic. Like they're just sitting in a room like, all right, like what if there were like portals that'll hop wherever you want them to go and there's secret civilization and there's this tech to advance things right over here. But none of the work afterwards to explain how logically this would happen or why it would happen to be right there. It's just, yeah, I mean, we want him to have a robot glove, right? So it's right there, of course. Where else would it be? Like, I was watching the movie, and we're getting pretty deep into it. I was like, the trailers heavily show Kong with a robot glove. How is he going to get the robot glove? Their rationale was not satisfying. Now, is it fun to see Kong with a robot glove punching Titans as well as Godzilla? Of course it is. But it's a lot more satisfying if it feels earned. If it feels like we built up to this payoff of that happening rather than, oh yeah, he just gets it. Which just feels cheap and lazy. And that's what a lot of this movie feels like. They just threw in all these wild, crazy ideas, being like, people just want a wild, crazy, bonkers Godzilla X Kong movie with a ton of Titans, throwdowns everywhere. So yeah, just throw it all in there. No one's stopping to think about the logic. Okay, like sure, you can do that. But just a few months back, Godzilla Minus One showed us that you can have a thrilling, exciting Godzilla movie that's also smart and nicely crafted. This is not that. This is just throwing everything in there, cooking with lots of butter and sugar. Sure, it tastes good on your tongue, but it's not actually good. Real quick, before I give you my final thoughts, be sure to join me down below in the comment section. Let me know, what did you think about the film? What do you think about the MonsterVerse in general? And are you Team Kong or Godzilla? Also, I will have an updated ranking coming in the next few days. Ultimately, this Jobs movie was to entertain me while I was in the theater, and it did that, so I have to recommend it purely on that basis, in particular if you liked Godzilla X Kong. But I don't think that this is going to be a movie that's going to have replay value over time watching it at home, simply because it's too silly, there's too little logic, and it takes too long to get going in the main section of the film. So, enjoyable time at the movies, but not a particularly good film. Overall, it's a B- on the entertainment scale, a 6.5, and it is worth seeing, but it'll play the best in a packed theater with a gigantic screen. There's plenty of just really stupid Titan action that is fun to watch in general. You can check out my review, Godzilla Minus One, over there. Got my MonsterVerse videos right over there. Thank you so much for watching. Keep talking movies and TV too much. Bye-bye.